on Klefki, but I think it's safe to say that Davide will not be running something quite that wild. But the other thing is, the two Ninetales, when they spam Blizzard, there is always that chance of a freeze. And when you've got two Ninetales facing up against each other, of course the Ninetales can't freeze because it's an ice type, but are we going to see a lot of freezes happening in this game?
Is this you trying to commentate a curse? It's starting to sound like it for me. Like you were saying, oh, all the heat waves are all connected with the Charizard, and maybe we're going to see some misses there as we go forwards. And yeah, like that is what Ninetales like to do. Some Ninetales don't even opt for Blizzard. They go purely supportive, maybe with, well, Icy Wind, it does damage, and support. That's good enough. Let's go pure support as well. So we'll have to wait and see. We got our two players that are almost ready to go there. We can see their accomplishments now. Davide Correa has been very consistent across multiple generations. You see, going back even to 2019, was able to reach that final of the EUIC back in the Ultra formats, which was one of my favorite formats, and he was a fantastic player in that format, really innovating the bulky Xerneas back then. But of course, he was able to reach the finals of the Players' Cup 2 as well, make top 8 in Worlds, which was also a restricted format, and just this season as well, make top 16 of Dortmund.
Yeah, a fantastic list of accomplishments from Davide. Bartosz on the other side also has quite a lot of consistency as well. Bit more of a recent player. You can see Dortmund Regionals top 128, Gdansk Regionals top 16 last year. So maybe Bartosz wanting to go the step beyond this year and just take the whole competition and win. And of course, this is the win and in for both players. So I'm sure they'll be trying their absolute hardest to get that cover to the win and advance on to the next stage.
Yeah, and to be on stream as well for that win and in adds a little bit more pressure. But I know that Davide at least is very, very used to that pressure. He's been on stream multiple times. Bartosz, maybe not as much, but getting top 16 in the Gdansk regional last season, very, very impressive indeed. And is actually incredibly close to at least matching that and hopefully going further as well.
Yes, so this is such a high-stakes match. And let's take a look at Bartosz's team. It's going to be that Sinister, Klefki, Mousehold, Annihilate, Ninetales, and Ursaluna. And, ooh, Klefki running Misty Terrain, so maybe no freezes happening.
Potentially still. Like, it does have that Blizzard and Freeze Dry that could be going for that. But yeah, like, as mentioned, the Klefki is the one that's going to be setting the screens here. That's freed up the Ninetales to be going for the Encore set and be a little bit more supportive here. But this is a team where it's very dedicated to this Pokemon is going to sweep while the rest of the team is going to support it. That could potentially be the Annihilate. That's probably the focal point, given that we got beat up with the Mousehold as well to be able to enable that Rage Fist as well. We've got the Assault Vest Saluna, which is able to do some really, really solid damage. But then the Ninetales, it does okay damage with Blizzard. Sinister, it does okay damage with Machagotcha. Klefki very much chips with Dazzling Gleam. So yeah, this is kind of team where it's like pure support. This Pokemon will win this match because these other three are going to make that happen.
And now let's take a look at Davide's team. Davide is running something maybe a little bit more standard with the Golden Go, Magmar, Dragonite, Annihilate, Ninetales, and Ursaluna. So two Annihilates and two Ninetales, but the Annihilate on Davide's side does not have a Mousehold to boost up its Rage Fist with Beat Up. So this Annihilate may be wanting to set up a bit slower, won't be getting those Rage Fist boosts, but once it gets hit, it's also going to start becoming very, very threatening.
Yeah, I think this is incredibly similar, if not identical, to the team that Davide Miraglia was using in the day one stream that we were able to see and pilot very well. Because we've got that Ninetales that looks to be exactly the same set. We've got the Light Clay to be able to extend that Aurora Veil. Of course, the Ninetales here is going to be setting the screens with that Aurora Veil for this team as well, while still having exactly the same kind of support that Bartosz's Ninetales had. Of course, it's Icy Wind over Freeze Dry in this case. But then the other Pokemon around it, those are Pokemon that wouldn't be unexpected here. We've seen a lot of consistency coming out from all of those Pokemon. I think the fact that they both got very similar Annihilate and Assault Vest Ursaluna, but then completely deviating. Whereas Bartosz is like, these are the Pokemon that are going to win, whereas Davide has multiple Pokemon that can be flexible, and these are going to be the Pokemon that's going to be able to do the damage, because there's a lot more damage potential coming from all 6 of Davide's team, where it's mainly focused on just a couple coming from Bartosz.
Yes, Bartosz's team is very much support your sweepers, and then Davide's team is more, oh, this is a balance. I will pick which Pokemon will do the damage based on what my opponents will be, or what I'm going to be facing during team preview, and what I think my opponents are going to be bringing. And now our players are in their team selections, just taking the time to make their choices, make sure that they start off this round with a really strong start, and their leads, it's going to be really, really important.
Yeah, absolutely will be. There's almost certainly going to be something like an Annihilate or an Ursaluna coming out from Bartosz. Otherwise, there's just going to be no damage on the field really at all, and it would just be pure support. So there's usually some kind of support teleported thing with one of the heavy hitters. At least for Davide, it's going to be that Ursaluna and the Dragonite. And yep, here is a classic lead coming out with that Annihilate and the Mouse Hold, which can threaten that beat up into the Annihilate straight away and get the Rage Fist stacked. But then, of course, Ursaluna does not care about that at all. It's a normal type, so it can be hit super effectively from the Drain Punch, but Ursaluna is incredibly bulky. It's not going to care too much about Drain Punch, whereas the Dragonite, it's still going to have its multi-scale intact. So even if a beat-up came out this turn from the Mouse Hold, assumedly it's the fastest Pokemon on the field, it is the naturally the most fastest Pokemon, should be able to get that beat-up if the Annihilate wants, but it could also just go for that Follow Me, keep the Annihilate safe, allow it to get a bulk up, threaten a lot more damage into the Ursaluna with the Drain Punch, or be able to shrug off the attacks coming from the Dragonite a lot better.
Yes, Mouse Hold is such a great supportive option here. Here it's just going to opt to go for the Follow Me, drawing away all attacks from its partner Annihilate. But now Annihilate going for the bulk up, just wanting to make itself even harder to take down. Up against this Dragonite, which is going to be really, really helpful. Not so much against the special Ursaluna, but Dragonite now going for that scale shot. Are we going to see all 5 hits? Of course, this Mouse Hold is very, very bulky. It will be surviving 5 hits if it goes for it. And it does look like the Dragonite is going to get 4 hits. It's now going to be the fastest thing on the field after this.
Yeah, and we're going to follow up just with the Blood Moons. Could have been a Hyper Voice to do some chip damage to the Annihilate as well, but of course you don't want to start activating that Rage Fist. Might have been a bit overkill with that Blood Moon, and Earth Power would have done it, and you'd have had Blood Moon available to yourself next turn, but the Mouse Hold is taken care of here. There wasn't a beat up, then Rage Fist isn't going to be threatening too much. Yes, Drain Punch will into the Ursaluna, but that really doesn't threaten the Dragonite anymore. The Dragonite, I think, is in a really solid position now. It did drop its defense, so it's going to take a little bit more damage from this bulked up Annihilate, but it's not going to really care too much about the Ursaluna in terms of its defense dropping, because that's just joined the field and does the special damage instead. The multi-scale is also still intact from the Dragonite, so it's sitting pretty comfortably. It's now boosted its speed. Assumedly, it's now faster than the Annihilate. We saw Annihilate outspeed the Dragonite on the first turn, but with that speed boost, Dragonite is almost certainly moving first here.
Yes, Dragonite now the fastest Pokemon on the field and can do a lot of damage with the Dragon Shot, but Ice Spinner now coming off immediately onto Ursaluna. Such a bulky bear. It's not going to take too much, and the Drain Punch doing a lot of damage back onto the Ursaluna. The opposing Ursaluna is going to outspeed, is not enough to take out Bartosz's Ursaluna, but Blood Moon coming out enough to take the remaining amount of health away from this Assault Vest Ursaluna, and Davide is going to lose his first Pokemon in this game.
Yeah, you saw the detriment there of going for Blood Moon instead of Earth Power on that first turn. Earth Power would have definitely got the Mouse Hold from the range it was at, and that would have allowed a Blood Moon on this turn, which should have been able to pick up that knockout on the Ursaluna based on the amount of damage that the Earth Power did. It would have been incredibly close, but it could have done it, and Davide's was moving first, so it's lost the Ursaluna when he could have been able to keep it if it would have been Earth Power then Blood Moon rather than Blood Moon then Earth Power. Of course, now that the Magmar's joined the field, the Dragonite's looking pretty comfortable. It can just go for another Ice Spinner incredibly safely into this Ursaluna. It's Assault Vest, it can't protect. So then you're going to be able to keep the Dragonite safe from any of the attacks that the Annihilate's going to go for, and then the Dragonite's going to be in a pretty comfortable position.
Yeah, the question is, how is Davide going to deal with this Annihilate? The Magma does not have Will-O-Wisp, so it can't actually burn the Annihilate, but Annihilate really nicely set up. Any attacks into it is just going to boost up the damage of its Rage Fist. The normal type Ursaluna has been knocked out, so Annihilate can just freely start spamming those Rage Fists, and you know, Annihilate in such a good position here. Magma now going for the Follow Me, keeping its partner Dragonite safe, keeping that multi-scale intact one more time. Vacuum Wave coming off, not doing too much, looking like, you know, maybe wanting to try and break the multi-scale, but Scale Shell coming off once again. Dragonite flinging all of its scales into this Ursaluna, and Ursaluna is going to go down this turn.
Say all of its scales, it was 3 that time. Usually it can launch 4 or 5, but that was plenty here to be able to knock it out. Getting another speed boost, but of course that's another defense drop. Doesn't matter at the moment because the Magma is redirecting, and it's not going to be an attack here, it is going to be another bulk up. So that means that +2 defense, the Annihilate will shrug off the Dragonite completely, and you obviously don't want to go for a scale shot into an Annihilate, because then that is immediately at least +200 base power to the opposing Rage Fist, and it's Sinister is the last one. That's what you want to see coming out from Davide's side of the field, because you threaten the knockout with the Overheat from Magmar and Ice Spinner from the Dragonite. So maybe some defensive terrestrializations need to be coming out here, because we do have the Water terrestrialization specialization available on the Sinistcha, which would be able to resist the super effective hits from the overheat and the ice spinner as well. But then at the same time, you could just go for your regular old scale shot and still do some very, very consistent damage. The Citrus Berry would allow the Sinistcha to be able to survive that pretty comfortably, and if it does go for the defensive terror, which assumingly we are seeing here, should be able to survive that turn and get that Rage Powder or even a Trick Room off if it does want to.
Yeah, as we called, a Sinistcha going for that defensive Terror Water, just wanting to keep itself really safe from these super effective ice spinners and overheats coming its way. Now Dragonite going for another scale shot. I think at this stage, Dragonite's going to lose a lot of scales. Its defense is now going to be dropped all the way down to -3, and this is also going to proc the Sinistcha. Oh, no, not quite. Did not get all of those 5 hits, but Magma can't actually hit the Sinistcha now with the overheats, but Drain Punch coming off does very respectable damage to this Magma, which then goes for a clear smoke, so clearing away all the bulk up boost, which is really, really nice for Davide, but that does also increase the base power of Rage Fist by 1 stage.
Yeah, that effectively puts the Rage Fist equivalent to what it would have been doing previously, because you'd have been +2 at a regular base power, but now you're at neutral with a boost, which is effectively the same as doubling your attack stats. So yeah, the Trick Room going up here is very nice for Bartosz because of all the speed boosts that have come out on the Dragonite on Davide's side of the field, so it's definitely going to be able to move first here. And the Sinistcha is probably the slowest Pokemon on the field. It can go for its supportive moves in the Rage Powder or Life Dew very comfortably, but at the moment the Annihilate's still at full health, well, basically full health, a little bit of chip from the Clear Smog. You can go on the offensive with the Machagotcha. You've got the chance to be able to get a burn. If you burn that Dragonite, then the Annihilate is going to be very unbreakable, at least from the 2 Pokemon that Davide has in the field at the moment, and would have to rely on what's in the back.
Yeah, Magma now going for another Follow Me, keeping its partner Dragonite safe. Well, now that it's at -3. Sinistcha now going for the Machagotcha, completely ignoring all the redirection. Going to hit both the Magma and Dragonite, not doing too much. Look at that, a critical hit onto a ×4 resisted Dragonite and barely tickles it. But what's more important, the Dragonite's multi-scale is now broken and Dragonite doesn't have a recovery right now to go back to full health. So Annihilate now, the Rage Fist at base 100 is going to be enough to knock out the Magma, and there's no more Clear Smog, no more redirection. Davide now down to his final 2 Pokemon.
Yeah, and the Scale Shot's going to come out here. That 1 hit does activate the Citrus Spray. That should allow the Sinistcha to be able to survive at least 3 or 4 more of those Scale Shots. We'll have to see is, yeah, it's not doing too much damage here. So that means that Sinistcha will survive the turn and can, again, just go on the offensive with a Machagotcha if it does want to, try and fish for the burn onto the Dragonite as well. Or because it's taken very reasonable damage, especially because it was 5 hits down very low, you can just Life Dew that straight back up and maybe even be able to survive another Scale Shot afterwards.
Yeah, this Dragonite now at what I believe is a -4 defense is really, really threatened by this Annihilate. And Gholdengo is normally, depending on the training, it could be either faster or slower than the Annihilate, but their speed ranges are fairly similar. Gholdengo, of course, might not want to go immediately for any sort of attack onto this Annihilate, which already has its Rage Fist boosted up, but Davide has not gone for his Terror option, so that is something that he could consider and, you know, use to prevent either his Gholdengo or his Dragonite from taking really strong hits. But I think Dragonite at this stage probably is not going to want to go for the Terror.
Potentially not. The Dragon Terror on the Gholdengo, that would be a good defensive one here, because it would be able to still resist the Machagotcha very nicely, and the Rage Fist won't be super effective anymore. But the awkward thing here is, what's the speed order on the Annihilate and the Gholdengo? Yes, we are going to see the Terror almost certainly going to be the defensive one for the Gholdengo, like we see it's turning into the Dragon, making Rage Fist now neutral. But who's faster? Annihilate is naturally faster than Gholdengo, and it's actually tends to be run max speed most of the time, but we're in Trick Room, so who's going to be moving first here?
Ooh, look at this, not enough to knock out the Sinistcha, which survives at 2 HP. But the Gholdengo is going to follow up with that Shadow Ball, just knocking out the Sinistcha before it has the chance to go for any more Machagotchas and get a burn onto this Dragonite, or start going for Life Juice to start healing up itself and his partner. But it does allow the Annihilate to get a Rage Fist off onto this Dragonite at -4 defense. That is easily enough to knock out this Dragon. But of course, there's another Dragon left on the field, and it is that Gholdengo. So it's now just a question of, you know, how much can this Annihilate do? Annihilate now can go for Drain Punches onto this Dragon-type Gholdengo. So this is a very, very close match.
Yeah, we're still in Trick Room as well, and we saw that the Gholdengo did underspeed the Annihilate. So this is a bit of an awkward one, because the Gholdengo with the leftovers isn't strong enough to KO an Annihilate in one shot with a Shadow Ball. That means you probably need to go for a Nasty Plot this turn, but then that stalls out one of the turns of Trick Room, and you can just protect on on the last one. So then maybe if you go for a Bulk Up or a Rage Fist this turn, that might be enough to be able to KO the Golden Go afterwards. It's going to be pretty close if just a Rage Fist at just one hit so far would be able to two-shot this Golden Go. Yeah, it has to Nasty Plot. You can't Shadow Ball this turn because it's not strong enough. And if you activate that Rage Fist one more time, Annihilate will definitely two-shot this Golden Go. But this is going to be incredibly close if this does.
Oh, look at that Rage Fist.
Yeah, no, not sorry, I take that back. That's not close. That's
barely
not close.
doing enough. But there's one more turn of Trick Room left. So Golden Go, having undersped the Annihilate, as you mentioned earlier, it can go with the Nasty Plot up. It can actually one-shot the, I believe it can, with the Shadow Ball. So Annihilate has to be very, very careful. But here we go. The Shadow Ball coming off onto this Annihilate is easily enough to knock it out. And Davide with a critical hit. I don't think that critical hit mattered.
It didn't. Don't worry. A +2 Shadow Ball, super effective. That definitely knocks out an Annihilate there. So actually a little bit of a detriment of going for that Trick Room there. It seemed like it was a smart move in the face of the now, what, +3 or 4 speed Dragonite that's definitely going to move last in Trick Room. But the fact that the Annihilate was outspeeding the Golden Go, that's not what you wanted in the Trick Room. If it would have been the other way around, then the Annihilate would have probably been able to win that game with going for a Bulk Up and then 2 Rage Fist to be able to KO. But yeah, the Golden Go underspeeding, very crucial there.
I think it was also really important that Davide went for that Clear Smog onto the Annihilate. Even though that boosted up the Rage Fist, it also meant that lost all of its attack and defense boost, and then that allowed the Golden Go to later come in and be able to take that Rage Fist, which was barely enough to even get the 2-hit knockout. It would have been a 3-hit knockout, but you know, with leftovers, maybe some protects, it could have been even turned into 4. So this is something that Bartosz might have to really consider, and he did lose his mouse hold quite early on. So what sort of adjustments would you like to see?
Well, like I've mentioned, this is a team where it's like this Pokemon is going to win, and it seems like for Bartosz, the Annihilate is the focus, and Annihilate is going to be able to sweep through the game. But it got its Bulk Ups off and lost them with the Clear Smog, and it didn't ever get its Rage Fist properly boosted. It just stayed at 1 hit the entire game. Well, at least after the Clear Smog, but then that was a detrimental Clear Smog. That's fine to be able to boost the Rage Fist. And then you saw it wasn't really doing the damage into that Golden Go. That did, what, 1/3 of its HP? Not enough. And obviously was able to KO the Dragonite at -4 defense. Obviously, that's going to KO. Something Davide could have considered. He could have Clear Smogged his own Dragonite as well. That would have been pretty cool to get rid of the defense boost, get rid of the speed boost as well, and put it actually slower in Trick Room. But obviously not necessary because the Golden Go was able to underspeed too. But yeah, Bartosz, it seems like the focus is on the Annihilate. Don't click Trick Room when there's going to be a Golden Go in the back is probably the best advice.
Yeah, really interesting that the mouse when it went for the Follow Me, the Scale Shot went into it. So indicating that, you know, he could have just gone for the beat up because the mouse hold is the fastest.
Yeah, you're not going to Scale Shot on that.
On the field, and then boost up the Rage Fist, and I can just go for the Bulk Up. So you know, I can see a lot of adjustments coming from either player. But here we go, straight into Game 2, Dragonite and Ursaluna, the exact same leads from Davide, but Ninetales and Klefki, a completely different switch up, and snow has now been set on the field. It is nice and cold up, and all the Pokemon are ready to fight in this battle.
Now, this is a pretty reasonable adjustment from Bartosz because the Ninetales is threatening both the Ursaluna and the Dragonite pretty heavily with those Blizzards. Golden Go's not going to care. It's going to switch in for the Dragonite, a perfect switch into these Pokemon here. And no defensive Terror. That could have been a Terra Water from the Ursaluna, but no, just going on the offensive here. Yeah,
Ursaluna with the Assault Vest is really, really bulky. With Blizz coming in, as you mentioned, Ursaluna tanks that really easily. No freezes happening this turn, so Blood Moon is going to come off successfully onto this Ninetales, which is with the help of the light screen, is going to take it really easily and survives comfortably. And now the Ursaluna cannot go for the Blood Moon next turn, of course, against the Klefki and Ninetales. That's probably not something you want to do.
Yeah, not particularly. And wow, we saw a sneak peek in the back there. There's no Annihilate. So just really focusing on the Ursaluna Blood Moon to be the Pokemon to be able to sweep through this game with all the damage here. Because for Bartosz, the Klefki's done its job and set the light screen against these 2 special attackers. It's now switched into the Ursaluna Blood Moon, but Davide, the Ursaluna Blood Moon is going to be switching straight back out into the Magma as well.
Yeah, Magma and Golden Go staring off against this Ursaluna.
That's not much damage.
But could be a freeze. Oh, the freeze! Like, did I curse?
You called it even before the match, Zoe. This is entirely your fault.
Well, Golden Go now going for that nasty block, getting some revenge on the freeze on its teammate. Of course, against this Ursaluna, with the Assault Vest and with the light screen, it's probably not going to be enough to knock out the Ursaluna, and Golden Go heavily threatened by the Earth power from this Ursaluna as well.
Yeah, without that freeze, this is the easiest Follow Me, and the Golden Go is now going to sweep the game with Make It Rain. but now you don't necessarily have the Follow Me available because it's more likely that the magma stays frozen here, and even it has Overheat as well. That doesn't thaw you. It's one of the fire moves that doesn't end up thawing you. If it was something like Flamethrower or Heatwave, that could have done it, but no. The Ursaluna, it's going to be going for its direct defense terrestrialization. It's the water type that is able to resist the Make It Rains that could be coming out from this Golden Go a lot better, and behind the light screen probably won't be taking too much damage at all.
Yeah, Magma Frozen Solid unable to thaw itself out this turn, which allows the Ninetales to get another Blizzard off. Just really tickling the Golden Go at this stage. Golden Go now going for the Make a Rain, easily enough to take out the Ninetales.
Oh, damn it.
Look at that Ursaluna, just taking it so well. Golden Go now dropping down one stage of special attack. So Make It Rains will be hitting less and less powerful. Earth Power coming off onto this Magma.
Oh,
hanging
wow.
on with what looks like 1 HP. This Magma is very determined to stay on the field, even though it is frozen into a block of ice.
Yeah, I reckon the block of ice just provided a little bit of extra protection there, just enough for the Magma to survive that Earth Power. In comes the Clef Key once again. It's not going to be able to threaten too much, but that Dazzling Gleam doesn't matter into the Magma, even if it's resisted. That'll be enough to KO here.
Yeah, Golden Go now going for the Protect, maybe trying to buy a turn for its Magma to thaw out, but Magma does not thaw out. It's going to stay frozen solid for yet another turn.
Yeah, Clef Key, let's get this KO.
If it doesn't get the KO, I'll be very surprised. I think that's 1 HP, so definitely coming off enough to knock out this frozen Magma and forcing Davide to bring out another Pokemon to replace that.
Yeah, and the Earth Power, of course, going into that protecting Golden Go. It's now only at +1 increased stages of special attack, and that's not going to threaten the Ursaluna too much. You can now Shadow Ball it. It's no longer a normal type, so that would be a lot more effective than going for a Make It Rain. And if the Dragonite joins the field, that's not much damage into the Klefki either, so it does have to be this Ursaluna joining the field once again, because of course that's able to threaten the super effective damage with Earth Power. But with the light screen, that's probably not going to be enough. You might need to consider Make It Rain and Earth Power to be able to KO the Klefki. But at the same time, do you even need to? Dazzling Gleam's really not threatening too much damage here. You probably can just focus on this Ursaluna.
Yeah, Golden Go now going for a Shadow Ball. Might get the special defense drop, but I don't think I've got it. No, I'm not cursing anyone. Okay, Dazzling Gleam coming off. Little bit of, nice chip damage, but Blood Moon coming off from the Ursaluna as well. The Assault Vest and the Light Screen just paying dividends, and it's going to not get the return KO onto this Golden Go. So now Davide forced down to his final 2 Pokemon, which we know is going to be that Dragonite in the back, which, now that the Ninetales has been knocked out, it does have quite an easy time on the field. Of course, the Dragonite has Scale Shot, which, as long as it hits, the Ursaluna will be going down.
Yeah, and actually, the Dragonite can't really threaten this Klefki at all. So if the Ursaluna on Davide's side of the field is able to be taken care of with the Klefki still around, the Klefki should 1v1 this Dragonite, which is quite amusing to say, given how not damaging this Klefki will be, but it doesn't matter. It will eventually win. And we can see in the back the Sinister as well. That could recover up that Ursaluna with the Hospitality, and then maybe you're able to survive the Scale Shots from the Dragonite. It's definitely in range of Scale Shot, even if Reflect is set from the Klefki, that's almost certainly still going to be in range of a Scale Shot. And we've seen that Davide's Ursaluna has consistently been moving first, so even if there was a Hospitality boost or a Reflect to try and save this Ursaluna, Scale Shot into Hyper Voice would still be able to pick up that KO.
Ooh, Vacuum Wave coming off, getting that nice priority onto the opposing Ursaluna, but Scale Shot in return going to be enough to knock out this Ursaluna. Looks like it's going to be 3 hits. So leaving the Klefki alone on the field to go for that Dazzling Gleam. Of course, it does have to take an Earth Power from the opposing Ursaluna, and with the light screen up, I think the Klefki might be able to survive, but it will be heavily damaged after a resulting Earth Power.
Well, speaking of heavy damage, let's go another Dazzling Gleam from the Klefki, and not much damage, but it's a little bit of chip, and every bit helps here. But yeah, like you said, the light screen should, very comfortably able to survive. Not 2, actually, yes 2, because the Sinister's joining the field, and then the Hospitality is going to recover the Klefki back up, which is actually incredibly important here, because we saw it did just over half damage. That's no longer in range of the Earth Power.
Yeah, and Sinister actually with the matchup gotcha, which is a spread grass type move, at this stage, that Bartosz might actually be relying on that Sinister to
this is looking good for Bartosz
and knock out this Ursaluna. So it's really close for both players, but I think Bartosz just has a slight advantage. Despite the fact that he's got two very defensive Pokemon on the field, they can still do damage, and as you called earlier, Dragonite can't actually touch this Klefki.
No, not at all, and I think it might come down to the speed training of the Ursaluna and the Sinister. Sinisters don't tend to invest anything into speed at all, but you need a reasonable amount to be able to outspeed with an Ursaluna. There's the Ice Spinner, which is super effective. Not quite the Citrus Berry as well, just under. And a little bit of extra chip from the Dazzling Gleam. Like I'm saying, chip, that's damaging the Dragonite now. But yeah, Sinister move first.
Oh, no, that's okay.
That's fine. It's important that it hit the Ursaluna there. That was the important one for Bartosz, because that is a KO onto the Ursaluna. And now, Klefki and Sinister are going to 1v2 this Dragonite. Which shouldn't happen, but is going to.
Who would have thought that two such defensive Pokemon, we saw how little the matchup gotcha did to that Dragonite. Looked to be, what, 3-4 HP. Ice Spinner coming off onto this Sinister. It's gonna hang on, eat up its Citrus Berry, but...
this single target Dazzling Gleam now. It's a little bit stronger than before. This might even KO the Dragonite from where it's at. I think that means Klefki's gonna get 2 KOs, maybe? Yes, let's go! Klefki going on the offense and taking us into this game 3.
Klefki hurling all of its keys at this Dragonite, saying, you know what, you can throw your scales at my teammates, I will throw my keys right back at you.
Yeah, like the Dragonite was doing a lot of damage in that game 1. It makes perfect sense for Ninetales and Klefki to be the adjustments, because with the set that Davide's running on the Dragonite, the Scale Shot, Ice Stream Speed, Ice Spinner, there's not much damage into either of those fairies. So I think that the adaptation was actually very strong from Bartosz. We were saying Annihilate is the focus of this team, and it wasn't even brought into that game 2, which Bartosz was able to win. So it just shows that if you're just choosing the right Pokemon, even if it doesn't seem like the damage is there, if it doesn't matter if there's no damage coming back to you, eventually your chip damage will add up, and the Klefki was able to go for, what, 4, 5 Dazzling Gleams? I think it was about 4, and it was a super effective hit into the Dragonite as well. 3 Dazzling Gleams was able to KO it, but it was allowed to go for 3 Dazzling Gleams because it just wasn't threatened.
It was also allowed to stay on the field for so long.
Yeah.
Davide did eventually go for that Earth Power, but because this was an Assault Vest Ursaluna, it lacked the damage output of the Life Orb variant, and Light Screen was also set up, so it needed the 3 hits, because the Sinister then came in with the very handy Matcha-Gotcha, and also the ability to, you know, heal up its teammates upon switching was really, really useful. So, you know, who'd have thought Klefki clutching out that match?
We do have to remember that the Magmar did get frozen because of you, and that could have been...
It was because of the Ninetales.
Of course.
I just looked at it and said it might freeze.
It might freeze and immediately did, so your fault. But yeah, that could have been an overheat into the Klefki. And based on Davide's reaction, the fact that he didn't end up thawing, probably was an overheat into that Klefki. That would have done loads of damage, probably not KO because of the light screen, but it would put it in range of the Earth Power in the future from the Ursaluna, and that would have probably been enough to be able to get the game for Davide, because then a Dragonite does 1v1 a Sinister, it doesn't 1v2 a Sinister with a Klefki.
It also explains why then he tried to target down that Magmar with the Earth Power so early, just wanting to prevent it from thawing out and just getting rid of it as early as possible. And now we're now down to a game 3, so this game is going to be so important, and our players have chosen their leads. Once again, it's going to be the Dragonite and the Ursaluna for Davide, and Mausol Annihilate making a comeback in game 3.
Yeah, we switched it back to what didn't work for Bartosz. So yeah, very interesting adaptation for this game 3. Of course, Davide sticking with what worked here. But what happened in that first game was went for Blood Moon and then couldn't KO the opposing Ursaluna because it was going for Earth Power instead. So if we see a repeat, it could be an Earth Power this turn, but it's definitely not going to be a repeat of these because the Mausol is going for Protect here.
Yeah, Annihilate now, once again, going for that bulk up, just keeping itself, making itself nice and bulky against the opponent. Let's see which target Davide went for. Scale Shot onto the Maushold, a very, very nice Protect, and now it allows the Ursaluna to get an attack off. Is it going to be? Yes, it's the Blood Moon onto this Annihilate, which takes it so well with the Maushold's Friend Garden. Annihilate also getting some recovery back from the leftovers.
Yeah, that was nicely done from both players there, because if that would have been, like I was mentioning, a Scale Shot and Earth Power to KO the Maushold and then be able to Blood Moon in the future, that would have gone terribly wrong for Davide and just given the Annihilate a free bulk up. But then you've got some very good damage into the Annihilate with your Blood Moon. Yes, you have given 1 boost to the Rage Fist with the Annihilate by going for that attack into it, but Ursaluna, again, doesn't really care about that. It only cares about the Drain Punch. It will do significant damage, but it won't care about the Rage Fist. So you still could go for a beat up this turn, but apparently not. Mousehold is going to be keeping itself safe there, keeping that Friend Guard available in the future. And with a Ninetales switching in, that would be a perfect switch into a Scale Shot.
Ninetales is such a fantastic Pokemon here against Davide's ground type and the Dragon and Flying type. Just be able to hit both super effectively. Ursaluna is going to be hit really hard by that Drain Punch and allows the Annihilate to gain back a really significant amount of health. And now looks like Dragon going for a Scale Shot is going to be completely nullified onto the Ninetales. But Earth Power coming back does a decent amount of damage onto this Ninetales, but the Ursaluna, slowest thing on the field, will be knocked out by another hit from this Annihilate if it chooses to stay in as a normal type.
Yeah, now this is an incredibly interesting turn because the Ursaluna, yes, it's in range of Drain Punch. There's almost certainly a Golden Go waiting in the back. Do you consider going for a Rage Fist into the Ursaluna to try and catch the Golden Go that could be switching in here? Or do you just play it safe, go for the Drain Punch, and if it's Golden Go switches in, fair enough. But it's going to be the switch of the Dragonite here instead. Probably fearing the Blizzards, and there comes the Magma on that side of the field. We'll have to see if the Ursaluna is going to be switching here as well. Oh, yes, it is. Could it be a Rage Fist? Is it going to be a Rage Fist?
It's going to be a double switch, and yes, as you called earlier, it is going to be that Golden Go switch in, a fantastic switch into the oncoming Blizzard. Now, Ninetales getting a little bit spooky there, turning into the Ghost type, maybe trying to dodge any Vacuum Wave priorities or extreme speeds from this Dragonite. Does that Dragonite actually have extreme speeds? Yes, it does. So, you know,
almost certainly to dodge that for sure. And now this Blizzard, that's not going to be too impactful.
Any freezes happening? No freezes.
No. But oh, it was the Rage Fist. Oh, but it was into the Magma slot. Oh, that could have been so much damage and probably a KO into the Golden Go. Oh, good call of the Rage Fist, but imagine if that was into the other slot. That would have KO'd the Golden Go and really freed up loads of the Pokemon on Bartosz's team. But now that the Magma got in with the Golden Go, you can very easily just go for that Follow Me and a Nasty Plot this turn if you want to start boosting up. But then at the same time, you'd KO the Magmar, but then you still need to deal with the Annihilate in the future, which we've confirmed does outspeed this Golden Go.
This Ninetales, a Magmar going for the Follow Me, but it's going to be ignored by that Ninetales, which starts going for another Blizzard. No freezes happening this time, but does allow the Annihilate at +1 to knock out the Magmar with the Rage Fist, which means Annihilate's Rage Fist, it hasn't been boosted, but Annihilate itself has +1 stage to its attack, and Annihilate does outspeed the Golden Go, so Golden Go has to be very, very careful here.
Yeah, the Nasty Plot is nice, but the issue here is that if you go for a defensive terrestrialization in your Dragon typing, that suddenly makes you weak to Blizzards, and then Blizzard and Rage Fist will probably still even KO this Golden Go. The redirection's gone now as well, so there's nothing you can do to keep the Golden Go safe from the onslaught of Blizzard and Rage Fist. The Dragonite switched out, so it doesn't have any kind of Scale Shot speed boost. I didn't even get a Scale Shot off in the first place with the switching in Ninetales. Now it's switched back in. It's going to be slower than both, so you basically get your pick of KO here. You can go for Rage Fist and Blizzard into the Golden Go very, very safely, and there's not much that the Golden Go can do about it. You can't defensively terrestrialize out of it. So maybe we're going to see a Protect from the Golden Go, allow the multi-scale to let the Dragonite survive the attack from the Ninetales, and maybe get the Scale Shot KO into the opposing Ninetales, and then that frees up the defensive terror on the Golden Go in the future. But maybe you have to go for the defensive terror on the Dragonite right now, so that you're not taking as much damage from the Blizzard, because even with a multi-scale, that's still effectively a super effective hit, which will still do absolutely massive damage.
Ninetales in a really strong position here. That Blizzard spread damage is proving to be so valuable against Davide's team, a lot of which are very weak to the ice moves. And now we're going to see a terrestrialization coming off on Davide's side, so presumably onto this Dragonite just to keep itself safe from this oncoming Blizzard, and multi-scale is going to be so helpful. But Dragonite now, Terra Dark type, does mean that in the following turns, it will be weak to Annihilate's Drain Punch if he does not manage to knock out this Annihilate this turn.
Yeah, no protects at all. There's just the Blizzards coming out, and we've seen Annihilate's outspeeding this Golden Go. It's super effective. This is easily a KO into the Golden Go, and now it's like a Dragonite just on its own without that boosted Golden Go. Yes, a Scale Shot will KO this Ninetales if it does go for that. And yes, you're able to Scale Shot KO this Ninetales, which is a weird thing to say given it used to be a Fairy type. But yeah, that's a KO there.
Not used
Yeah, at least the Dragonite now outspeeds the Annihilate. that doesn't really matter because Mousehold was preserved. You can very easily just bring in Mousehold once again and go for the Follow Me and Drain Punch whichever Pokemon you want, because you've got the Ursaluna, that's in range of Drain Punch. You've got the Dragonite, that's now in range of Drain Punch because it's a Dark type and it's just lost one of its stages of defense. So here comes the Friend Guard with the Mousehold. Yes, there is the Ursaluna, but it's just Follow Me and Drain Punch twice to win the game for Bartosz and advance into the top cut.
Yeah, Annihilate and Mousehold just in such a fantastic position here. Fantastic adjustment from Bartosz in this Game 3, recognizing that even though the lead did not work for him in Game 1, he was able to make adjustments.
Yeah,
and
that's it.
Davide, seeing the writing on the wall, is going to concede.
Yeah, and Bartosz is going to be moving on into the top cuts.
Congratulations to Bartosz for playing out so well, making those fantastic adjustments in that Game 3, recognizing that even though the lead didn't work well for him in Game 1, he knew exactly where he went wrong and was able to take those adjustments and take Game 3.
Yeah, I didn't think that benching the Annihilate and going on the offense with the Klefki was the play for Game 2, and it was. Like, the Klefki picked up 2 KOs. That was the damage dealer in that Game 2. Absolutely fantastic. And then recognizing I don't need the Klefki for the Game 3. I was able to figure out what to do, what went wrong in that Game 1. Very similar game plan. I think it was just the adjustment to bring the Ninetales into that Game 3.